Okay, let's do this. Vlogmas day 2, I guess. So I'm trying to do a video every day for the vlogmas thing because I should and I want to. I really do. It's kind of a motivation thing. Anyway, I wanted to talk about this article by BuzzFeed. I'd actually made a note of it previously. It's actually from a little bit ago, a couple weeks ago. It's on BuzzFeed News. It's news. Sex robots won't free misogynists from women. And I was reading the article again, looking it over, and I don't want to talk about it because there's a more of a meta involved here. Off track for a moment, sort of. Breast cancer. A while back, in the 90s, I believe, there was an explosion of cases of breast cancer. And conspiracy theorists, people in general who saw that data were like terrified. It's like, is there something causing us cancer? Is it our genetically modified food, pesticides? What's causing all these cases of breast cancer? And as it turns out, nothing was. What was happening was that plenty of women were, and men, a few, were getting breast cancer. It was only that they started screening on a very larger scale. It became far more universal to get a mammogram and to test for it and so on. It wasn't that there were suddenly more of them, more cases of this particular kind of cancer. It's just that they were looking for it and getting better at detection. So statistically, if you looked at it, you go, oh my god, there's this huge explosion of these cases. Well, no, it was just detection had gotten way better, which is always a good sign. So I'm reading this article on BuzzFeed, and I thought of that because we got to the part where it mentions the explosion of misogynist videos on the internet. And my thinking is the same. I don't think the number of misogynist videos has changed one whit. Not media of any sort, whether it be articles or what have you. I think the bar of what defines something as being quote-unquote misogynist or not has been lowered significantly. A lot more things are being reported as misogynist when I don't really think they are. When BuzzFeed or something like this crosses my path, I go look at the thing and it's like, oh, this is no big deal. This isn't someone saying women are awful or stupid or weaker or inferior. This is someone disagreeing with someone who happens to have very strong, I want to be fair, very far, strongly left-ish. I don't know the nice way to say it. I'm just going to call them an SJW. I mean, I just think some people just have dialed up their sensitivity to things to such a degree that anything becomes misogynist. The sex robot article, it's about, the premise is, I'll even read a little bit of this video. I'll probably post a link to it. State-of-the-art robots are more Tamagotchi than Westworld, and there's little sign that will change anytime soon. Well, sure. I mean, things happen incrementally. It's not like overnight there's just going to be sex androids that look like people. It isn't Westworld. Actually, the premise for Westworld is a bit off in that a lot of science fiction movies in particular and TV shows have that sort of genius guy idea of one guy is going to come up with this brilliant thing and things are just going to transform overnight, where realistically, if you're making realistic sex robots of any sort, it's going to be extremely incremental. Someone will have some cool idea, they'll be testing, they have to make the parts, they have to maintain them, they have to bit by bit learn what works, what doesn't. That's true of absolutely any technology on Earth. So these things tend to be very incremental. They tend to be very slow in development. It's just how it is. The idea that sex robots are for misogynists, I mean, look, I'm 45. I remember when there was no internet. I literally remember a time when there was no internet. If you wanted anything even remotely resembling porn, you had to go to a bookstore, and not your regular bookstore. You had to go to a bookstore that had back issues of stuff and old magazines for like girly magazines and shit like this. The ubiquitousness of sexuality on the internet. It's one more aspect of why the internet is so freeing. Once again, things change and move forward. I'm rambling on a lot of weird topics. This is how I actually think. God help me. This is what my mind does. But to go back eventually to this sex robots article, it's just like, look, complaining that things aren't immediately perfect, ergo they're stupid and pointless, it misses the point. This is one rung on a very long ladder. The first rungs on this ladder, to use this metaphor, are gonna be sad looking. They're just gonna be bit by bit, things slowly develop. You won't really notice. It'll be like one day it's like, oh wow, these sex robots are really humanistic and they really look like real people. Yes, I agree, says sex robot now, because now they can talk or whatever. Also, the implication that people hate women so they want robots to be as much like them as possible is misaimed, misdirected. That's not how human beings think, and I don't think that's how human sexuality works. Well, let's see if this works. Okay. So, this article and another one by Breitbart. Let's see if I can find that one. It's actually, I think it's near the beginning. I think it's mentioned up here. Breitbart.com. Sex robots, why women should panic. Sex robots will be the norm in 50 years, say experts. You know, experts better be in quotes. It's not experts. If someone could predict the future well enough, technological trends and so forth, and social trends, they'd be filthy rich. They wouldn't be writing crappy articles on an internet mag. That's just how it is. I mean, the way things have predicted stuff. And 50 years, really? So you may or may not still be alive. What a safe prediction. I think both of these articles, like I said, the misguidedness of it, that people have sex despite the opposite gender, or even the gender that they are attracted to, if it's the same gender, just whatever, is that people want sex despite other people. And that's not how humans think. I mean, sex is generally, God, and like I'm some sex act, God knows. What I'm saying is, and perhaps I'm misguided, perhaps I'm the one who's wrong, but I think generally human sensuality and human relationships are more trying to connect, whether literally or figuratively, or more commonly both, with other people, isn't something you can replace with a machine that doesn't have sentience or sapience. You can't really, if you're connecting to that machine, it's imaginary. It's purely what's in your head. It's make-believe. But humans are sexy. Humans are very sexually active. As animals go, the entire primatiform category of creatures, apes, chimpanzees, and so on, and human beings and our ancestors, Cro-Magnons and what have you, seem to be very sex-obsessed. For mammals, and that's an impressive category to begin with. So, yes, we're going to want more sex than we can actually get. That's how we are. The idea that the sex robots are going to replace human interaction is just silly. I think it's very silly. It sounds to me like the panic of, virtual reality is going to replace real reality, or television is going to rot your mind and people just watch television and not live real lives, I mean, panics just go back and back and back, and it's like radio is just going to rot people's minds, and they'll sink into these fantasy worlds where they won't interact with other people and so forth. This it, it's a common fear of the new thing, of dreading some of the possible permutations of it, and just projecting our own fears onto them. The new thing, the different thing, the future thing. I mean, yes, people sit on their cell phones an awful lot, but they're interacting with other humans. I mean, yeah, sure, people play Candy Crush and shit like that, but at the same time, they're also communicating with other people, hoping to hook up, frankly. So, yeah, I don't know. I think, because these two articles are literally the Breitbart article, Sex Robots, Why Women Should Panic, and an opinion piece by BuzzFeed News. And God, these are literally at the opposite end of the spectrum. But I think they both encapsulate the same idea, that the fear of the new thing is going to cause some horrible thing to happen. Like, you better be afraid, and you'd better act accordingly, or else the new thing the sex robots will take over. What an uprising, so to speak, that would be. I guess I'm going to stop now. This was vlogmas day 2. I'll probably end up posting these a day after I record them, simply because I've got a lot going on. It's the damn Christmas season. We'll see if I can keep up with this. Honestly, I'm really unfocused on these so far. Well, that's it.